Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're going to unpack something really fascinating: why functioning perfectly on the outside might actually be hiding a deep, exhausting state of continuous survival on the inside. So if you've ever felt like you're just sort of managing your life rather than actually living it, well, you are definitely not alone. Let's just put this hidden reality out there right from the start. A lot of people are completely drained, not because they're doing too much, but because they aren't truly engaging with life. They're just managing it against potential threats. You know the drill. You get up, meet your obligations, handle whatever fires need putting out, and to anyone watching, you are absolutely crushing it. But from the inside, it feels completely different. To really understand what's going on here, we first need to look at the massive gap between how a life looks and how it actually feels. Section 1. The illusion of functioning. To the rest of the world, you appear highly competent. You're handling your obligations and managing the day-to-day ordinary stuff beautifully. But internally, your dominant overriding experience is vigilance, guardedness, and this constant anticipation of a threat. You aren't fully present in the moment. Instead, you're constantly waiting for the other shoe to drop, even when things are objectively going great. And that brings us to a really crucial definition of survival mode. It's important to understand that this isn't some dramatic psychological breakdown with super obvious symptoms. Not at all. It's actually the quiet, persistent, and honestly enormously costly operation of a nervous system whose threat detection was calibrated in conditions that simply don't apply anymore. It's like having a heavy, unseen surveillance system running continuously in the background of your brain, quietly draining your battery. Understanding how this exhausting state actually began completely changes how we view it. Section 2. A success of survival. I absolutely love this quote because it offers immense validation. Think about it. If you grew up in an environment that was emotionally unpredictable, you didn't just consciously choose to be hypervigilant. You developed the ability to instantly read the emotional temperature of a room because you literally had to. It was adaptive. Like the quote says, these were not failures of character. They were successes of survival. It was a brilliant, highly intelligent response from your developing psyche to the tough conditions you were in. The famous psychologist Carl Jung mapped this out perfectly with his concept of the persona. This is basically a social self that you assemble out of the necessity to remain safe and acceptable to others, rather than acting from your own genuine preferences. As a kid, you built this specific version of yourself simply to survive and navigate the complex emotional requirements of the people who were supposed to care for you. So, here's the real kicker. The problem isn't that you developed these defenses in the first place. You had to. The problem is that they've stuck around as your default orientation today. Your nervous system is currently treating perfectly ordinary social ambiguity with the heightened life-or-death alert system that was required in your past. It interprets totally normal friction in human interaction as the precursor to something much, much more dangerous. Which brings us to the most frustrating part of this whole experience: why simply wanting to relax just doesn't work. Section 3. The nervous system trap. You really can't just will yourself out of this trap. Why? Because your mind and your body are literally speaking two completely different languages. Your conscious mind speaks the language of intention and preference. It really wants to relax, it wants to just be present. But your nervous system, it speaks the language of accumulated experience. It does not care about your intentions. It only responds to what the past has hardwired it to expect. Let's say your safety growing up was intermittent and totally dependent on you behaving in one specific way. Well, that didn't teach your nervous system to relax, did it? It taught your body that safety is conditional and requires constant, exhausting management. That childhood environment reinforced the exact vigilance that survival mode fundamentally depends on to keep going. To finally escape this cycle, we have to go back and look at what got left behind when we were so busy just surviving. Section 4. The shadow and self. Jung called this suppressed material the shadow. It basically represents all the authentic, messy parts of yourself that had to be hidden away. Your genuine impulses, spontaneity, the need to be cared for, your anger, and your grief. All of these things were suppressed simply because they took up way too much space or were just too unpredictable for the threat-saturated environment you were trying to survive in. And guys, this is exactly why survival mode is just so incredibly draining. You aren't just exhausted from monitoring the outside world, you are burning immense amounts of energy, actively suppressing your own genuine interior needs. Having this continuous internal surveillance adds a massive energy cost on top of an already significant external vigilance. You're basically playing police officer to your own shadow 24/7. But wait, there is a turning point. Acknowledging all that suppressed material actually creates a profound quality of inner spaciousness. When you finally stop trying to manage and hide these parts of yourself, the energy you were using for all that internal surveillance is suddenly freed up. It becomes available for genuine, lived presence. So, the million-dollar question is, how do we practically teach our bodies that the war is actually over? Section 5. Building genuine safety. It is beyond frustrating to logically know in your head that you're safe, while your body is still screaming that you're in danger. That's the gap right there. The mind consciously knows it's safe, but the body just hasn't gotten the memo yet. We have to remember that the nervous system shifts very, very slowly. It doesn't change just because you want it to. It changes through a deliberate, patient accumulation of new experiences. Escaping this trap isn't some quick, linear process. It's all about patiently accumulating new experiences over time to recalibrate. First, you literally have to slow down enough to let your interior surface. Second, you have to practice sitting with uncertainty without instantly organizing a full-blown threat assessment. Third, you need to allow yourself genuine rest, not just manage downtime where you're still secretly on high alert. And fourth, which is honestly often the hardest, you have to learn to receive what is good in your life without immediately bracing for its loss. Now, ultimately, our goal with all this psychological work isn't to reach some magical, naive state where nothing bad ever happens again. Section 6. Escaping to the present. It really comes down to a profound difference in how we move through the world. Managing life means you're encountering the world from behind the thick glass of surveillance. But inhabiting life, that means directly encountering difficulty, pleasure, and loss with full availability. Look, life is still going to contain genuine difficulty, for sure, but a recalibrated nervous system develops an accurate, grounded relationship with what is actually present, rather than forever mediating reality through a protective, exhausting threat assessment system. Before we wrap up this explainer today, I want to leave you with a really powerful question drawn directly from our source material. When did you realize you were surviving your life, rather than actually living it? Take a moment to just sit and reflect on that. Escaping survival mode is a gradual, often imperfect shift, but I promise you it is genuinely available to you. Thanks so much for joining me to explore this topic, and I'll catch you in the next explainer.